and she is going to be co-hosting with me this morning and sharing information. So before we get on to the program, I am going to be handing over to Anele, who's going to welcome in our first guest for the morning, all the way from France. Thank you, Anele.
All right, thanks, Bev. So our first speaker today is Cyrielle from Sederma, France. After graduating from a chemical engineering school at the Institute of Industrial Pharmacy in Lyon as a chemist, Cyrielle specialized in R&D projects in the health and cosmetics sector through her R&D experience at Henkel at the Faculty of Pharmacy of Montreal before turning to sales. Now she uses her technical knowledge to develop new business in Eastern Europe, Middle East, and Africa for Sederma. I think a lot of people will be tuning into this presentation, Bev. I mean, I started graying in like grade 7. So I just need to figure out how to stop myself from going completely gray in the next 5 years. So I'm very excited to listen to this particular presentation.
Thank you, Cyrielle. Welcome back. It's lovely to see your face, and we are so looking forward. We love anything to do with the ethnic variations on our continent, and especially with hair care. So we're looking forward to hearing what you have to present today. Thank you.
Thank you for welcoming me again. So today we're here to speak about natural hair pigmentation and how a short peptide can reactivate. It's because hair color is directly linked to our individual identity, and it's difficult to speak about beauty for all without putting inclusivity at the heart. So we will just see together the context of hair turning gray. So I hope, Anele, you will find some answer about it, how and why. And then I'll present you our study on how we could counteract this phenomena using a short biomimetic peptide, the palmitoyl prolyl proline, that we will call PALP2. So I'm sorry to break you the news, but your hair will turn gray sooner or later. It's a conventional and universal phenomena. It usually starts at the age of 25 and 35, between the age of 25 and 35. And as I said in the introduction, hair color is a part of our individual identity, and the intensity and frequency of gray hair change according to geographical area and ethnic origin. Usually, hair dyeing is used to cover gray hair, but the issue that it could induce irritation and sensitization to the scalp and damage your hair, as you probably already know. So maybe it could be interesting to look to more natural answer to cover hair. And indeed, as long as we have gray hair, this means melanocytes continue to produce melanin. When as soon as our hair is completely white, the melanocytes cannot produce any more melanin, and we cannot find back our color. So what if we could avoid the process of graying at several levels, from the stimulation of melanin synthesis by activating tyrosinase, which is a key enzyme in melanogenesis. We could also think of boosting the pigmentation pathways through certain intermediates that are involved in the process, like MIT-F, TIRP1, or CREB. And finally, promote the communication between the melanocyte and the keratinocytes through dendrites, so the melanin can express itself in the hair fiber. Something that is also very interesting to highlight when we are speaking about graying hair is that during the growing phase, we are producing reactive oxygen species when we have an intense melanocyte activity. And unfortunately, over time, pigmentation function can be affected by this accumulation of reactive oxygen species. And this could be one parameter, of course not the only one, that can accelerate the graying process. So now that we understand a little bit better gray hair, what do we know about hair pigmentation? Hair length increase of approximately 1 centimeter per month, and growing hair represents 85 to 90% of our hair. If we want to have a result from the roots, this is something that we need to take into account to boost the pigmentation from the roots. We also know, and this will be helpful to have models, that there is a lot of similarities between pigmentation of the skin and pigmentation of the hair. The first thing is that the melanogenesis process is the same either in the skin or in the hair follicles. And melanin is produced in small vesicles called melanosomes. It is transported from the melanocyte to the keratinocyte through dendrites, where it is expressed. But also, we have a lot of differences. The first big thing is the rates between melanocyte and keratinocyte. Indeed, in the hair, we have 1 melanocyte for 5 keratinocytes and up to 1 for 1 at the roots at the dermal papilla, which means a lot of activity, contrary to in the skin, where we have 1 melanocyte for 36 to 40 keratinocytes. Also, you are entering the summer period in South Africa, and you will probably get tanned. But you expect the color to fade with time, isn't it? This is because in the skin, the melanin undergoes digestion, while skin is renewing. But in the hair, we don't have this phenomena in hair follicles. Pigmentation remains because we don't have this peeling effects process. And finally, we also have longer dendrites in the hair than in the skin. This means also that it facilitates the expression of the melanin. But what makes our hair pigmentation to decrease? This is still a question under debate and very complex too, as you can imagine, and we don't have all the answer yet. But what we know is we talked about the reactive oxygen species, which could accelerate the pigmentation of the hair. In particular, when antioxidant defense, such as catalase, is reduced, we have an accumulation of reactive oxygen species. For instance, the catalase production helps to transform the hydrogen peroxide into water and oxygen. So just to sum up quickly how and why hair pigmentation can be affected over time. The melanogenesis originates in melanocytes in the hair bulbs during the hair growing phase, as you have seen with the hair falling and reconstructed. On the scan, you can see the bulge here. This is like a reservoir of melanocytes that is used when a hair is growing to provide fresh and rare and active melanocytes. Dendrites are structures that allow melanosomes to discharge their contents in keratinocytes. This allows the expression of melanin in the hair fiber. Oxidative stress is noxious, as you can see, to melanocytes and the cells nearby. However, reactive oxygen species production is inherent to melanogenesis. So this is kind of the snake that bit his own tail, because oxidative stress will decrease the melanocyte activity, which will decrease the melanin production. But when we have a melanocyte activity, we are producing reactive oxygen species. So we decided that we needed to do something about that and offer a more natural alternative of hair dyeing. PALP2 acts on different stages of the hair melanization, process to slow down hair graying and stimulate hair repigmentation effectively. This was our objective, to work on several levels of the process of hair graying to make relevant products. Oops. From supporting melanocyte function to boost the melanin synthesis and promote the expression in keratinocyte by increasing the size of the dendrites and also increasing the number of melanin that are transported to keratinocytes, while protecting cells from oxidation and reactive oxygen species. So first, we proceed to a screening of over 48 peptides with a short chain of amino acid, from 2 amino acid to 6 amino acid, and we proceed to the screening in model cells, that is the cells E16. PALP2, the palmital prolylproline, was our best candidate for the 2 parameters that we wanted, that first matters the most for us. It was the melanin content and the tyrosinase activity. PALP2 is also interesting because this is a biomimetic peptide naturally present in the human body. The proline has antioxidant benefits as well, and also the unique association of palmitic acid and the dipeptide prolylproline is the key to the activity, since none of them, neither the palmitic acid or the dipeptide, are active individually. So this is really the association of both that makes this product active. So once we had our PALP2, we confirmed its activity, and you will see that we confirmed it through different pathways. So here we have different type of cells model, the moderately and lightly pigmenting natural human melanocytes. You can see the results on low and moderated pigmentation. This study shows that PALP2 is active on any kind of hair, from the darker to the lighter, and it's also using PALP2 improves the melanin production in a dose-dependent effect. As you can see, we tested 5 ppm, 10 ppm, and 12.5 ppm, and we have a dependent. The effect goes way up to 233% on moderate human melanocytes and up to 130% on light-colored melanocytes. Here on the pictures, you can see also the different melanocytes, and I wanted to highlight the health of the cells on the pictures. The melanocytes, you can see it's a little bit elongate. This is because of the dendrites, and we see that the melanocytes are in good shape, which shows a good acceptance of the product, a good tolerance, because as you know, in vitro, the cells are quite sensitive to products and they can die more quickly, and here we see a nice acceptance of our product on this photo. So we confirmed that PALP2 is working. This is good, but why is it working? The melanogenesis occurs under the control of several transcriptase factors, as you can see, and the CREB regulates the expression of MIT-F, which is a transcriptional factor, and this MIT-F will also induce the TIR and the TIRP1. So this is a cascade of transcription factors. And here you have the proof on the genetic aspect in vitro that PALP2 will induce a melanogenic gene expression that triggers melanogenesis and stimulates hair repigmentation. We confirmed it again with an explant. So first we looked in vitro, and now we are looking ex vivo with a low pigmented hair explant, and we see that the hormone receptor of alpha melanostimulation, the MC1R, who induces melanogenesis, is boosted. The production is boosted by PALP2, as you can see here, the black spots. This is activation of the MC1, shows the MC1R production, and this MC1R production will have a boost also on the MITF production. Here you can see. So we activate hair follicles melanogenesis through an increase of MC1R and MITF production. So as a result, because we were able to trigger several pathways of the melanogenesis, this leads us to the increase of activity of tyrosinase, as you can see, with a dose-dependent effect, and this will have in final the benefits on the melanin quantity with a dose-dependent effect. So PALP2 significantly exerts a dose-dependent stimulation of the melanin production. Again, we confirmed what we have seen in vitro with the ex vivo in an explant with the quantification of melanin, and we can see up to 11.7 times against control. So PALP2 significantly stimulates the melanin production in the hair, and yes. And we can see that we have quantities here by putting the images in black and white. So now that we know that we are producing melanin, we also need the melanin to express in the hair fibers by reaching keratinocytes. And so we see here that the dendrin length is increased and stimulates the melanosome transfer. But of course, and as we said in the introduction, we know that the melanogenesis is a biological process in which the reactive oxygen species production is inherent. We also know that melanocytes are constantly exposed to extrinsic excitative stress. It can be UV, it can be pollution, it can be smoking, and this can impair their metabolisms. So we need to boost our cells' defense. And here you have the catalase that is well known. We talk about it. It transforms the hydrogen peroxide into water and oxygen. We also have the glutathione that I'm sure you know, linked to the melanogenesis. And we have BCL2 that is a little bit a newer cells defense that is a bit proteins that ensures the maintenance of the cellular redox to balance and to help cell survival against oxidative stress damage. And this BCL2 is also very specific to melanocytes. So we see that we are able to boost our cells' defense, and this will help us to reduce the reactive oxygen species production after stress. For instance, here we have put our cells into a stress with hydrogen peroxide, and we see that we have a dose-dependent effect on the reduction of this production. So by stimulating the melanocyte defense, PALP2 restores the redox balance during intrasec and intrasec oxidative stress. So now that we have seen how it works, we will see how the results are visible in volunteers. So we have performed 4 independent clinical studies with 84 volunteers that were women and men. 42 years old was the mean age, and we had a white hair level between 5 to 55%. We also checked different sites of the scalp, the vertex, the nipple, and the temple, the nape and the temple. We applied a lotion of 90 ppm of Palpitu daily and during 3 or 4 months on the scalp. Here, something that is very interesting is that we have stopped the application after 4 months, but we asked our volunteers to come back after 3 months and 4 months to evaluate the remnant effect of our product, because we really wanted to see if our product could help to re-educate the birds and to reactivate the melanogenesis process. We also have here, you can see the Tricoscan. Tricoscan was important for us because it makes micro photo. And so this is important, as I said, because we wanted to see the effect during the growing phase. And the Tricoscan, because it's a micro photo, it's at the roots of the hair, and this allows us to have some results to see the stimulation at the roots. So here you can see that Palpitu helps to visibly reduce the density of white hair down to 32.4% of white hair after 3 months against the T0. And the efficacy does not depend on the site. As you can see here, we have the temple, we have the nape, and we have results for both. When we look at temple, you see that the demarcation is also blurred thanks to the use of Palpitu. So Palpitu helps to blur the graying hair demarcation line for a more uniform hair color. And we spoke about individuality and beautiful whole. So here you can see that the active works on different type of color, and within 3 months we can see the very nice results on the hair, and we will see also that we have results on the roots after. So here you can see the results with the Tricoscan. As I said, the Tricoscan was important because we wanted to see that it helped to restore the colors from the roots. And we have an increase of 27.4% of pigmented hair. So Palpitu helps to restore the original hair color. And we have a progressive transition. This means that we help to intensify the color through time. So it's Palpitu intensively and progressively enhance the hair pigmentation to avoid roots. And we have a remnant effect. As we said, it's really nice to see that after the 3 months application, when we come back 3 months later, we actually continue to see the benefits of the Palpitu and a decrease down to 39.9% of white hair. And after 4 months also, so Palpitu supports the production of more intense hair pigmentation that persists at least 4 months after the last application. So just to conclude on the Palpitu, it helps and it can be used for preventive but also for corrective products, because for preventive, it will help to protect against the reactive oxygen damage. As we have seen, the melanogenesis activity can create some reactive oxygen species, and we need to protect our hair from the beginning. So this can be used as a preventive product. But also it will help to eradicate the hair bulbs, to stimulate the melanogenesis through the stimulation of tyrosinase, for instance. It will also soften the color of the roots, provide a long-lasting natural hair repigmentation, and it will perfectly match your natural hair color at the roots. And for the more corrective aspect, it will restore original hair color, but also enable the hair repigmentation and provide a smooth transition, because as we have seen, this is a progressive active, so a smooth transition to one natural colors, and also it will blur the hair demarcation line. Thank you for your attention, and if you have any question, please do not hesitate to ask me now or afterwards. And also, if you need more support, Annelie is from Croda, South Africa, and she can also help you and answer your question afterwards.
Cyrielle, thank you for your presentation. It was so lovely and the slides were beautiful to read.
I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I think it's... Can you
hear? No, it's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for your presentation. It was very easy to read and understand, and the slides were very nice. We do have some questions for you. I'm going to pass over to my co-host, Anele.
So Cyrielle, do we know, or have you tested whether this product can be used, well, what application this particular peptide is better applied to? So a shampoo or a leave-in product, do we know that at this point?
So at this point, we only have the test with the lotion. We only perform with the lotion, but from our experience, and as you know, usually leave-on products is better for this kind of application. But we also have peptide that is used for reducing the hair loss at Sederma, and we know that some of our customers are using it in rinse off. So maybe it could be also used in rinse off. Yeah.
Okay, and I assume that it would be better applied in a scalp serum, or is it okay if it's just a normal hair lotion?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course, putting it near the scalp is better, because this is where the active will have the effect. So it's better to put it in the scalp than on the hair directly. And so this is why serum can be used, but also lotion for the scalp, for instance.
Okay. And then do we know how effective this would be in all kinds of different pathologies? Because you just said that we're not really sure what the pathology of aging really is. We're just assuming it's mostly oxidative stress. So in the case that it's something different, how sure are we that this particular peptide would still be effective?
Okay, so what we have seen is that we saw that our active was protecting for reactive oxygen species, but we see also that it has this reactivation of the melanocytes activity. And this is common, like as I said, we use models inspiring from the skin, because the melanogenesis in the skin and in the hair is the same. So we know that by reactivating the melanogenesis process, it will anyway help with the melanin content, and so the expression in the hair fiber.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I don't have any more questions.
Thank you. Parfait, Cyrielle. J'ai pratiqué ma
Thank
français.
you.
Thank you for your...
Perfect. It's a good accent.
Thank you. So no, it was lovely to see your face again, and we welcome you in the future as well to be part of the COSCHEM presentations. Do we have another question? just double check. Sorry,
see.
Cyril, we have one more
Okay,
question.
one just popped up. So, any processing considerations when including this in a formulation?
We have a guide formulation. If you're interested, you can always ask us. Yes, we have some recommendation. I don't have it in mind like that, so I will not be able to answer you, but yes, we have some recommendation.
Okay, so I assume then they can contact you or anyone from Croda to find out what the formulation
Exactly.
guidelines are. Okay,
Yeah, definitely.
perfect.
Thank you very much.
Perfect. So thank you, Cyril. We hope to see your face again in the future and to have you
Yeah,
at
of
more
course.
COSCHEM conferences. And merci beaucoup pour la présentation. And à
Thanks.
bientôt.
And also,
Thank you.
bye.
So we're going to move on to our next presenter, also from France, and her name is Diane. And she's actually going to be speaking about some really interesting things in the sunscreen market. And we see there is quite a big shift, not as much as in Europe, but a shift to more mineral sunscreens. Definitely we see it in South Africa as well. So I think it comes at such an opportune time. And Diane, it's lovely to see your face again.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Hi, Beverly.
Hello. Welcome at the COSCHEM conference for the first time presenting here. So we look very forward to your presentation. And Diane holds a degree in chemist engineering from the Superior National Chemistry School and an MBA from the Management Institute in Rennes. In July 2020, Diane was appointed as Technical Director for EMI, for Skin and Hair Actives, Botanicals, Sun Colors, and Functional Product Categories within the Symrise Cosmetics Ingredients Division. So you may start your presentation, Diane.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So good morning, everyone. We are very happy to be here today. A big thank you to the COSCHEM organization for this new virtual event. And for today, we are happy to present you this Think About It approach. And actually, we would like to focus on this sun care market move towards mineral ingredients, as presently said. As you all know, the sun care market is very dynamic and also very challenging with more and more constraints. So besides the very efficient solutions we need to provide in terms of UVB, UVA absorption and protection, we have also to consider the environmental impact as the UV filter use, also all the regulatory aspects, and of course the sensoriality, the formulation aspect as well, to help formulators and brands to bring up to the market innovative and suitable solutions. And now with this shift to more mineral products, we see also an occasion, an opportunity to present it in the occasion of this inclusivity topic, because we see also a very important need to adapt and to design more suitable skincare products for all skin types. And this is what we want to showcase today. And before moving on, I would like also to highlight the fact that all the product developments and results we are going to show on this presentation is really the fruit of a very close collaboration and partnership between Symrise and Kobo over the past years. So this is the agenda of today, and of this presentation we will shortly focus on the general and global sun care market to highlight this evolution of the market towards mineral. Then we will, of course, focus on the mineral UV filters themselves and what we have found out, some results we would like to share with you. And finally, we will end the presentation on more formulation aspects and tips and tricks to provide solutions to our partners. So going to the sun care market, what we can see first is that all the categories except for after sun has really progressed and increased over the past years, even compared to 2019. So we see a very nice evolution here on the sun care market globally. Having a look to the different regions globally, we can see that all of them are really in progression and growing, with a specific focus for North America and also Eastern Europe in terms of growth. Finally, what we can say here is that regarding the top 5 brand ranking globally, Nivea Sun is having the first rank here. Is keeping the first position. Banana Boat is taking the second position, followed by Neutrogena, who is decreasing to the third place. Then Anessa is reaching the 4th ranking, followed by Garnier, who is now at the 5th position. So this slide is really to show that we can still see that the sun care market is very growing, dynamic, and we expect still important growth for the future. Going much in detail on the UV filters now, and what is the expected growth for the future on the UV filter market. So here we see that we expect a very steady growth for the next 10 years, mainly driven by the following parameters. So first, the increasing awareness of the skin cancer importance triggered by UV rays and also visible light. So this leads to more products developed with a higher SPF on the market. Also, the trend to have a daily SPF protection in skincare products by the consumers. So consumers are really more and more aware of the potential damages caused by UV on their skin, and they are really willing to have now daily protection on SPF even in their skincare routine. And finally, we see this shift from chemicals towards mineral sun filters, meaning inorganic UV filters market is really growing in terms of share. As you can see on this graph, between 2019 and 2013, the ratio between organic UV filters and inorganic UV filters is changing in favor to inorganic UV filters, with approximately 40% of the UV filters used in 2030. So it's really a great evolution for inorganic UV filters, and this is something really in line with the fact that consumers are also aware that this kind of mineral UV filters is maybe more adapted for the efficiency of the product, of course, also for the environmental aspect, environmental impact on the planet, and also in terms of innocuity, skin innocuity. These kind of ingredients and UV filters are really suitable for all skin types. Now, having a look at the specific mineral sunscreen trend, here we can see that the launches of sun care products with mineral filters containing titanium dioxide and zinc oxide are really rising more and more. More and more brands are following this trend to answer these growing consumer expectations. So in May 2021, we have seen 15% of the launches of sunscreen products in Europe mentioned with mineral or physical attributes versus 9% in the previous year, meaning we have really a significant increase of these product launches in Europe specifically. Now, in terms of ratio here on the graph, you can see between 2018 and 2022, the proportion of sun care products containing mineral UV filters is increasing, with a specific increase for the zinc oxide mineral UV filters, which is the preferred one actually. So this is really important, and we really expect this trend to evaluate positively after 2022, of course. So globally, the mineral sunscreen market is really registering a CAGR of over 5% between 2020 and 2030, which is really significant and important to consider for the sun care market. So, of course, the market is driven by the consumer's expectations. So we have seen that the consumer is really more and more aware of the damages caused by visible light, UVA, UVB, but also this tendency and this will to go more on mineral sunscreen products is the reflection of a growing interest towards natural, safe for the skin and for the environment, the planet, sun care products. And to highlight this aspect, we have some quotes from Mintel reports from 2021 and 20 from China and UK, showing that actually for the consumer, naturality, sustainability, and skin safety are really intrinsically linked. So, for example, we have 56% of the sunscreen users who associate sunscreen from natural sources with safety. 52% who associate a safe sunscreen as having a very eco-friendly formula. And in the UK, 67% of the users who are really, who agree that there should be more natural sun care products available on the market. So this is really illustrating this tendency and this trend. Now, there is, of course, this environmental aspect to mention here, because this is also a very important parameter and criteria which will define the consumer purchasing in the end. So consumers are really expecting from brands now to have a strong environmental impact and approach. And this is the case specifically for sunscreen. This is growing, and there are also a lot of reports of potential damages caused by some chemical organic UV filters that have also might have some impacts on coral reef, for instance. And this is why we are seeing claims like reef safe, ocean friendly, planet friendly, which are regularly appearing more and more on sun care products. And to illustrate this, we can also observe in Google searches that this reef safe sunscreen is 4 times more important than compared to the past 5 years now. So this is important. And also what is happening, we are seeing some local regulations being more restrictive and severe in terms of nature of UV filter authorized in the country. So in some countries we see laws we are coming into force to ban the sale, the offering and the distribution of sunscreen products which are containing chemicals like oxybenzone and octinoxate, in order to really preserve their marine ecosystem and their coral reef. So this is the case, for instance, in Palau, in the Pacific Ocean, in the US Virgin Islands, in Bonaire and Aruba, Hawaii and Key West Mao County, where a bill passed to really ban all the non-mineral sunscreens and allow only the mineral sunscreens to be used there. And this is effective by this October 2022. And finally, a point which is important to stress here is that this claim of sun care products, reef safe, has to be considered for the whole formula, including all the ingredients of this formulation, and not only the UV filters combination used in the product. So this is important to mention here. On top of that, because otherwise it would be too easy, we see also from the regulatory point of view limitation, a lot of limitation, which are really a break to innovation, and they are really due to strict regulation in specific regions. So for instance, in the USA, no new UV filters approved over the past 20 years. In the European Union, we have a wider range of UV filters available. However, the regulatory bodies are blocking also the introduction of new UV active ingredients, which is really a break for us to bring innovative products. Today, if we want to bring approved, Cosmos-approved UV filters on the market, the solution is to use only mineral UV filters like titanium dioxide and zinc oxide. And last but not least, in terms of formulation as well, we have a lot of challenges, especially with the use of mineral UV filters, which are difficult to use. This is important. The fact that they are not oil soluble nor water soluble is also a difficulty. And compared to chemical UV filters, they are less transparent once applied on the skin, so this is a difficulty and a challenge to consider. But of course, we have solutions to tackle all these challenges, and this is the purpose of this intervention. Also important here, besides all this, we see it's very important to bring to market very nice skin feel formulas, very nice textures, to give to the consumers the envy to really use, to adopt a product, to reuse it, and to reapply the product to make it very efficient over the day, over the usage of the product, to really reach the desired UV protection. And this goes through a very nice skin feel, and this is why we really want to accompany our partners on this aspect. And it's also towards mineral UV filters important to increase our communication, education towards consumer, to help them also to handle and to the way to use these new products on the market. Coming to different skin tones and inclusivity, this is an interesting slide here. It's an extract from a consumer insight study we performed in 2021, showing actually, so it's a very declarative study based on opinions and self-declaration from people interviewed, so it's not an objective study based on skin characteristics. And what is really important here to see is that even more darker skin, from brown to black skins, are also self-declaring the fact that their skin is burning, their skin is very sensitive to sun, and they need adapted and suitable sun care products. So every skin tone is concerned by sun protection, and every skin tone deserves the right product with the right skin texture and the pleasure to have an efficient sun protection in the end. So to conclude on this first part, we see a very dynamic and very challenging sun care market where the mineral sunscreen are rising. Mineral sunscreen is nice. We have this skin innocuity aspect. We have this environmental friendly aspect, but we have also some challenges in terms of formulation and bringing the right product to all the skin types. So this is important. For the current users of mineral filters who are really educated already and used to this kind of products, they have already a very positive claim of protection, efficiency, skincare benefits, gentle ingredients, so they are rather not really disturbed by this white cast aspect of the mineral UV filters. But for the non-users yet, who are still willing in the future to use this kind of mineral sun care products due to the context, the impact on the planet, the safety of skin, the naturality, these kind of consumers need really to be educated. We need to communicate to them and really bring the best skin feel sensoriality products for them also to adopt this new way of protecting their skin from sun. So this is really our target to bring the right solution here. And again, here important to mention that zinc oxide is the mineral UV filter which is preferred today at least. So going now to these UV filters and what we need to know about them. So first, some key characteristics and generalities. Mineral UV filters are white physical inorganic minerals. So they are either zinc oxide or titanium dioxide. They work more predominantly by reflection, up to 60%, in long UVA and visible light wavelengths. But otherwise, they also work like chemical UV filters by absorption. Important, they have a hypoallergenic profile, which makes them very suitable for all the skin types and even the most sensitive skins. For chemical UV filters, so organic, synthetic UV filters like avobenzone, octocrylene, and so on. And these UV filters are working by absorption, meaning they absorb the UV radiation and they transform it into heat. Now coming to the key question, shall we use either mineral UV filters or let's summarize, we think we don't need to choose actually. Both are complementary and they have their own added values. And in order to get optimal sunscreens, they're very high SPF protection. It's actually very key to opt for a mix of hybrid formulation containing both mineral, chemical UV filters. It's also giving much more opportunities in terms of skin sensoriality, possibilities in terms of textures, and acceptance of the product for the consumers in the end. Now, some myths we would like to bust here, intrinsically linked to mineral UV filters, actually. So the first one being mineral filters are working mainly by reflection. This is not true, as we have said before. Actually, both organic and inorganic UV filters are working by absorbing UV rays, turning them into heat. And it's only a small amount of the incoming UV, so around 5%, which are reflected by the mineral sunscreens. So the reflection mechanism starts predominantly in the long UVA and visible light wavelengths. So here we would like to define and to present you two different grades we have co-developed with Kobo. So to make the presentation easier for the following, we will use some keywords to define two different grades. So the zinc oxide 40 is the code for zinc oxide coated with trietoxycaprylyl. So this grade is nano because the particle size measured is about 40 nanometers. And the zinc oxide 300, which is a non-nano grade, still zinc oxide coated with trietoxycaprylyl. In this case, the particle size is of 300 nanometers, which is the reason why this UV filters is non-nano class defined. Both are polar, obviously. So here are the first set of results we obtained to fight or to contest the fact that the mineral sunscreens are necessarily leading to heavy and whitening effects. So we have performed different tests on different skin types. So here type 2 and type 4 on the Fitzpatrick scale. And we can see that by using the right zinc oxide and the right dispersing agents, we can allow a zinc oxide-based sunscreen product to deliver efficacy and also nice texture and a transparent look. So as you can see, depending on the combination and the quality grade of zinc oxide used in different emulsion types, so water in oil or oil in water, we achieve different profile of emulsions with different effect in terms of white cast and transparency. So in the case of 20% of active zinc oxide plus organic UV filters, for example, we see we have a good way and good opportunity to really improve this transparency effect compared to combination, for example, of zinc oxide and titanium dioxide with a pure mineral UV filters based sun care products. So it's really possible to achieve nice skin feel with mineral sunscreen in different skin tones. Here we make a definition on a very important aspect of pigments and mineral UV filters. It's the particle size definition. So it's important to remind that there are different particle size to consider. The first one being the primary particle, meaning the pure crystals, the first particle obtained during the manufacturing process of the pigment. Then we have the secondary particle, which are the aggregates formed due to the high surface energy of this primary particle. And finally, the tertiary particle, which is the loose association of aggregates that we are calling agglomerates. So what is called primary particle size, PPS, is really the key characteristic of a specific inorganic UV filter grade. So it will not change and is reported by the supplier, where the particle size, PS, is more defining the aggregates or agglomerates and depends really on the process during the application by a formulator. So the process has a big influence on this particle size aspect, and it has to be controlled by the user. Now we want to show here the impact and the influence of this particular size of the mineral UV filters on different parameters. The first one being the absorbance on the UV range. So we can see clearly on this graph that the smaller particles, like nano-defined zinc oxide particles, are more absorbing in the UVB, where the non-nano, non-nano zinc oxide, bigger particles, are more absorbing in the UVA range. Then we have this impact of the particle size on whitening effect. So mineral sunscreen with 20% of active zinc oxide were applied on PMMA plates to show really the impact of the particle size, depending on the supplier and on the whitening effect. So here we see on the left-hand side our two grades, zinc oxide 40 and zinc oxide 300, non-coated, so nano and non-nano grade in a water in oil emulsion. We can see here clearly the difference in terms of whitening and transparency. On the right-hand side, we have other zinc oxide qualities from the market. Here we have two nano grades uncoated, and we can see here that in some cases, even with nanopigments, we can show strong whitening effects. So this is really important to consider the right grade, coated or uncoated, and the right particle size to really obtain the optimum visual effect. In terms of coating now, we have shown here through this experience that with 25% of active zinc oxide incorporated in a water and oil emulsion, a non-coated quality versus the coated quality with trioxycapryl we achieve a much higher in vivo SPF. So coating has a positive impact on the SPF. And also in terms of dispersibility, here 50% of zinc oxide non-nano has been dispersed in propanediol caprylic caprate, and we can see here, comparing both images, uncoated versus coated, that in presence of coating, we are really helping to disperse the zinc oxide more evenly in the oil. In terms of emulsion stability now, again, here we are in an oil in water emulsion formulated with 25% of active zinc oxide. Here again, uncoated versus coated with trioxycapryl. And here we can really see that the emulsion with the zinc oxide coated is much more even, much stable, homogeneous after 2 months storage at 45 degrees. In terms of whitening effect, here we really show that also the coating has an impact on the whitening effect. So we have combined our two grades, so the non-nano and the nano version coated in a water in oil emulsion versus the non-coated combination. You can really see the transparency is better, and as also the whitening effect is decreased in the case of the coated combination. So to end this presentation, we will finally approach the formulation aspects and tips and tricks in order to really support good sensoriality and a nice skin feel for efficient mineral skincare products. So nanoparticle zinc oxide is more effective in UVB protection. We have seen that, where non-nanoparticle zinc oxide are more active in the UVA range. Important also point is the fact that the choice of emulsifier is important. So it's important to use non-ionic emulsifiers for both water in oil or oil in water, and more compatible with zinc oxide. And in some cases, anionic emulsifiers can anyway work as co-emulsifier. Also, it's preferable to disperse zinc oxide in the oil phase and to use dispersion agents like polyhydroxystearic acid, which is really the more common dispersion agent used on the market. And finally, the amount of oils in the formula should be really close to the concentration of zinc oxide used. Now, in terms of process to manufacture, hurry up, don't worry. Zinc oxide coated or uncoated, so it must be dispersed in the heated oil to decrease agglomeration and to optimize the stabilization in emulsion. And finally, the fact to manufacture a really hybrid formula, and so zinc oxide with titanium dioxide or organic UV filters are really enabling to reach high SPF formulations. Also, emulsions can reduce the whitening effect. Here it's just to show that we have done a lot of different trials to show that coating has also a very strong impact on the SPF, where the emulsion type is really negligible in the end. So coating has a really good impact on the SPF value, so it's important. And finally, to conclude, here we have compared the sensory profile of two emulsions, water and oil, with the nano zinc oxide grades versus the non-nano zinc oxide grades. And we are seeing that both emulsion profiles are reaching a very nice sensoriality with a reduced whitening and absorption for the nano zinc oxide 40 and less waxy and softer zinc oxide 300. So this is to conclude that it is possible to formulate with mineral UV filters for all skin types to achieve great sensoriality, to decrease the whitening cast, where we can also bring really safety, efficiency, and this is why we are really having good hopes to accompany consumers' expectation and brands to deliver the right product on the market, answering the consumer needs. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Diane. I love the way you say, hurry up. We don't want to do hurry up. We want to keep you. So we do have some questions.
Sorry for my delay.
No, not at all. We do have some questions, but before the questions, I just want to comment, thank you for sharing the information, the statistics on the growth of the global sunscreen, the mineral market. We unfortunately don't actually know what the growth is and the distinction between mineral and organic. But in South Africa, we're sitting at about, I think it's about $38 million market, sunscreen market. And it's predicted from this year, 2022 to 2026, at about 12% growth. But what of that 12% is actually mineral? It's difficult to say. We just know, working in the supply chain industry as consultants, as raw material suppliers, there's a lot more demand for it, maybe more in South Africa in your niche products. But definitely, I don't think as much right now as Europe, but we definitely are seeing more and more formulations in our market with it. So we do have a question from the audience we're going to pose to you.
So what are the perceptions of consumers around using nanoparticle versions of mineral sunscreens? I'm sure you expected this question to come up.
Yeah, for sure. So this is really a key question, not easy to handle, because we don't really know actually the perception on the consumer level really on this aspect, because maybe simply because of the fact that it's not clear even for the industry to find a consensus on how to categorize these ingredients, and there is no real regulation on that, clear regulation. So it's difficult to give a clear answer. So far, we see a lot of brands who are using both nano, non-nano grades of pigments. So we don't see yet, I think, a real awareness of the consumer on this, but they are following the trend, they are following also the claims, and definitely as soon as the regulation will be more and more clear, this will orientate consumer preferences. But today we are not really in the position to give a clear answer, unfortunately.
So I affirm with you on one of your slides. Well, my personal preference is a combination of inorganic and mineral sunscreen to really get the best effect. But you know, the consumer these days, they're wanting, and then the brand owners, they're wanting everything. They're wanting this whole sort of natural route, and then you lose the sensorial aspect. So I know you mentioned that you have formulations, Sunrise has formulations to help with the non-whiteness and the tackiness. And the big issue that we face in Africa is, especially with the darker skin, is we get that terrible ashy complexion, that bluish tone that comes to the skin. So a question I want to ask you, do you see in Europe, because we see it more now in facial products for the face, moisturizers with mineral sunscreens in, or natural sunscreens, and to obviously get away from that bluish white shiny matte grey effect, you put a pigment in it. But do you see in Europe, do you see anything with full body sunscreens for full body with a pigment, like pigmented body screens? Is that something that you're aware of?
That's a good point. I have not seen such, at least I would say it's very niche, because we have not in the recent this year launch that in such kind of product development with pigment for the body. Maybe because I would say the average skin tone in Europe is maybe a bit fair, and to spread this kind of product all over the body would be a bit difficult and give an uneven effect. So still in Europe, it's like really focusing on the face application. But this could be a way, to tackle really the suitable products for different skin tones. There are two main strategies. Either you develop a very universal sun care product, which can really match, which is transparent and match all the skin types, or you tackle each skin tones and skin types with different color shade to really match each specific skin. So these are two different strategies, and this is what we are seeing more generally.
So while Anele is sitting here, what is your personal preference with, how do you feel when you go in the sun? What do you put on, and how does it mix with your makeup, with your skin tone?
Honestly, I still prefer chemical sunscreens just because it doesn't leave that blue-purple cast on my skin. I think there's a huge opportunity, especially on the continent, for manufacturers to look into almost maybe like an encapsulation technology, maybe for the physical UV filters, just to make it a little less whitening on the skin, because that is quite a concern for us, especially if I'm going out in the middle of the day. I would like to put on some SPF before I put on my makeup. I don't want to look like a ghost when I'm out there. So I think there's a real opportunity for manufacturers to look into really tapping into the African market and looking at darker phototypes and seeing what they can actually do there when it comes to mineral sunscreens. Because as much as we would like to be more natural and more clean and more aware of what we're doing to the environment, I mean, it is a consumer-driven industry, so we need to look at what the consumers are actually feeling about the products.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is why this option to bring hybrid formulas is really giving much more opportunities to select also the right organic UV filters you want, despite the regulations, and also to include some